Well, okay. Hi. Good evening to everyone. And some of you, quite a few of you, were already at the glamour meditation where we were meditating on the glamours once again, especially in the political sphere of manipulation and lying. Easy to understand in some ways, and something that we can all share in helping to dissipate from the inner side. And we must continue. I mean, let's just say that the symbolism of 2020 is to see straight, to see things as they are, and we're hoping that more and more people can see what is actually happening around them and through them, especially in the two great democracies, the United States and the United Kingdom, at least those with second-rate souls. There are other very solid democracies around the world, and I'm not leaving them out at all. Notice here that, and I just want to tell you how I did this. I include some solo webinars when I don't think we can meet, and the combination of group and solo webinars brings us to webinar number 8, but this is our fourth group webinar. So, and we try to do this every week as much as we can. It just depends on whether Tuya and I are traveling. And of course, I have to mention, that we do have the upcoming festival week of the new group of world servers in person here in Finland. If you like to make the trip and want the intensity of it, working in the Temple of Silence together, and also there will be broadcasts and webinars on what we do together. Just hopefully I can manage the electronics so you can pick everything up. And for the broadcasts, it's pretty much a listening experience. But for the webinar, we hope to be able to offer you the chance to speak. But then there's something special about being right on the spot. And don't worry, I understand there's two kinds of igloos. The second one, I don't know the name of it. The igloo is the ice house. And there's another kind that the Eskimos use, the Inuit people. And you don't have to worry that we're not living in the south of Finland in igloos, and your accommodations will be probably a little warmer than an igloo if you come and join us. Okay. So I just want to welcome you again, Anna and Annette and Antoinette and Brennan, Karsten, Catherine, Chris, Deborah, George, Heike, Helen, Ishtar, Yoke, Yohi, Kim, Margot, Mariana, Marina, and Mariut, and Martha, and Michael, and Risto, and Rose, and Raz, and Stephen, and two Stephens, Stephen Renberg, Stephen Sprung, and Tuya, I'll put her over on the other side, and Vera, and Ville, and Zenaidi, and Veronica. So, happy you're here. And, I can only do that once. If you come in a little bit later, then okay, then that's just how it is, right? So, all right. So. Now, it's all one big teaching, one big sphere of learning. And as I'm fond of saying, from any point on that sphere, you can get to any other point, and you can also travel within the sphere as well. So every point in the ageless wisdom is accessible from any other point, and we can find the way in which each point aspects another point and throws light upon it. We're still very much in the beginning of things here in our discussion of cosmic fire. We did go to Dyna 1, page, let's see here, page 284 and 85, and we looked at this thing that is the seed of all philosophies, the trumpeted words, which I think contain the whole of creation. Okay, other people coming, and Roz, hi, and welcome everybody. These words on a certain pitch at the third initiation long ago opened the door to realization of the unity of God. Now, we talked about in the glamour discussion, we talked about isolated unity. And although isolated unity reaches, I would say, its first real consummation as the top of the Arian effort at the fifth initiation under Leo, from the time of the third initiation, the intimations of isolated unity come into being. And what it means is you isolate the unity while not ignoring all of the other parts and pieces that make it up. You have this sense of the only one thing. The only one thing, as it says in the divine Pymander, or Pymander, however you pronounce that, supposedly by Hermes Trismegistus, thrice great Hermes, the Emerald Tablets, and yet probably by some Neo-Platonic authors in the early AD centuries of the first millennium after Christ. So, the only one thing. It starts out that way, and then, of course, there is the diversification. And the main thing is to realize that you're not some isolated little nothing. I mean, in a way, we are, like next to nothing. But in a way, we are the whole thing as well. And that's the great paradox which requires meditation to grasp. So, yeah, I see some more people coming, and Asha and others. So welcome to all of you. Welcome. Now, let's go on here to where we were reading last. And as I say, the Tibetan is appearing in black, and everything else is just my own commentary on this. And if you prefer, like reading, on Makara are all of these many, many written commentaries, and quite a few commentaries that are video commentaries as well. So you've got enough there already to keep you going for years and years if you so choose. And of course, one of the best ways is to join the Moria Federation, and which uses the proposed curriculum for the preparatory schools given by Master DK in Letters on Occult Meditation. No way we can fulfill that entirely, but we come as close as we can. Okay, so we're beginning now. We're getting back down to earth, and we've got ourselves a universe here. And, here is a kind of a picture of our universe, not our universe, but our local system. And DK is always a little bit cagey, and so is Blavatsky, about what part of the universe they are discussing. And here, I think what we've got here is a kind of a picture of this, which is done in a neater and more colorful manner, but the two things are pretty much identical. And here it just says Para-Brahman, which usually means the one and only reality, and here it says a cosmic Para-Brahman, which is, I think, the right way to look at it. There's a great being, I don't know, I suppose we call it the one about whom naught may be said, and above that being, there are 49 of them in terms of little triangles. There are many ones about whom naught may be said. We just don't know enough. The masters know a little bit, and they've even named the galaxies, the ones that are relevant to us, and certainly the Andromeda galaxy is maybe the most relevant. The astrologer Nicholas, our friend, he's worked out some interesting ideas about when 0 degrees Aries really occurs in the precession of the equinoxes, and has something to do with the alignment of the Andromeda galaxy with our galaxy. Let's see now. Excuse me, Asha, did you have a problem there, or was your hand up by accident? Anyway, what you should do is, if there's an issue, just write it out in your question mark area, and that will help us deal with it. We'll be alert to what it may be. Okay. So those are, that's as high as the Tibetan takes us, up to this cosmic parabrahma, and we're pretty sure that that's not even a god of a galaxy. We're pretty sure that's not even a galactic logos. At least I seem to be pretty sure about it. Galaxies can be tremendous. Galaxies can have, I read about one a couple of years ago that had 6 trillion stars in it. Now, can you imagine, maybe our galaxy has 100 billion stars, and maybe Andromeda has 250 billion stars, but it would be 24 times greater than Andromeda, which is compared to our galaxy large. And just imagine the kind of logos, it would take to inform such a collection of solar logoi. We're going to start with the solar logoi. Solar logoi is like the god of the sun, or the term can be used in various ways. It's used as a blind sometimes, and a solar logos can be the god of a constellation and even of something much, much bigger. But at least in the beginning, we consider that every star is indwelt by a solar god or a solar logos. Just imagine that that part of you, as you've extended it, is informing 6 trillion stars, and that wasn't even the largest. So then you get an idea of how big our universe is, a little idea, and all that it contains, and you get some idea of the stupendous being who is the universal logos. Now, whether or not Blavatsky and Master DK were writing about such a being, we cannot be sure. Sometimes they go up and down the scale of beings, and you just don't know where they are. But things are pretty big, and yet the amazing thing about them is, if it's a definite size, and listen carefully to this, if anything or any perception has a boundary, it is compared to absolute infinitude. It is an infinitesimal. So no matter how great any universe may be, because it is a bounded expression of absolute infinity, it turns out to be, when compared to absolute infinity, an infinitesimal. And an infinitesimal, is as small as it can get. An infinitesimal is what I call an ever-lessening. Ever reduced, ever lessening, on its way to being nothing, but never getting there. Okay. So someday, you say, well, what has this to do with anything? Well, it has something, to do that large and small finally are not part of reality at all, is what it's all about, really. Okay, now, let's do a little reading here. And I just have to see where we are here. Yeah, so after I threw that one in, okay, so each solar system is the manifestation of an energy and life of a great cosmic existence, whom we call, for lack of a better term, a solar logos. Now, the trick there is to figure out what he means by a solar system. It can be one star, two stars, binaries. It can be a constellation. It can be an aggregation, because it's still a system of stars. So it's a solar system. So we have to know at what level he's talking, but probably at first he's talking about the single star or the double star solar system. And the interesting thing is, there's even more double star solar systems than there are single star solar systems. And that tells us something about the tendency to affiliate and for two to build a system rather than just one. Or maybe I should say to become a system. When you use the word create and build, it makes it seem like you're not really a part of it. But basically, we've got these great gods becoming the system. And that's a different thing from just, being out here and God made this and God made that. God is all the things that God made. So let me just see if I can... each solar system is the manifestation of the energy of... So let's see what I can find here. Each solar system is the manifestation of the energy of... and I'd like to get this so at least we can look at... Yeah, there it is. All right, so we're basically on page 4. Each solar system is the manifestation of the energy and life of a great cosmic existence, whom we call, for lack of a better term, a solar logos. Now just pause for a moment and just think of the sun in the sky. So there is one of the vehicles of this great, stupendous being, who's, we call it stupendous, but relatively, any solar logos is by itself a tiny being when compared, let's say, to a galaxy. And the life of this being pours through and suffuses, pervades, I like those words, pass through every being in a system. The solar logos is here right now, and we are monads, we are units of being, and that which has its home within the sun, that is the monad. And by the way, that particular reference is and I think it's initiation, human and solar. And I'm just going to see about that. that which has its home within, that which has its home in the sun. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not having too much luck. I bet if I do this, initiation, human, and solar, and then try again, that which has its home, or its place, I'm not sure. I'm not doing as well as I thought I would do with this particular reference. And let's just say, let me try this, within the sun. Well, I'm not doing too well, but I can assure you that on page, if I only knew the page, 160 something, this reference does exist, and probably I'm missing out on one particular word. Suffice it to say, the monad is that which has its home within the sun. Now, so we're talking about the solar logos here, and just think of it, that great being, you as a monad, temporarily at least, are part of the great God of our solar system. Now, a lot of people say that if you talk about more than one God, you're into polytheism and you're into some kind of heresy or blasphemy or, who knows what. But then the theory of emanation is not understood. That's the problem. So the Buddhists understood it and the Gnostics understood it, okay? And we have to understand it too. So if we have a lot of gods, those gods are aspects of the one God and not different from it. And that one God, at least as far as the universe is concerned, is called, we call it the solar logos. Okay, so let's see, a solar logos can be a cosmic existence. It's not just a systemic existence, meaning it has a very wide range. Why do I get the feeling that we can really complete this book in the year 2050, which will be the next year of the great decision by those great 6-degree initiates? Well, let's just see about that. Okay. Now, we're on page 4. Boy, are we making progress here. The solar logos, this is DK again, the black. The solar logos incarnates or comes into manifestation through a medium of the solar system. Now, think of it, how we are. Here we are, and when we die, we spend time here on the astral plane, we spend time here on the lower mental plane, and we come right back in. And, it's just like a sine wave. And some of us maybe will have some participation in a pure form of the egoic lotus itself. Now, you can say that that's true of a solar logos too. See, when it passes on, so to speak, it will spend time on the cosmic astral plane between its incarnations and on the cosmic mental, and maybe it will return to its own causal body and then come back in. How many incarnations has our solar God? Let's call him it. It's more of a she than a he, because it's so Davic. Let's call that being Sol, S-O-L, or Helios is another term that Nicholas and I were working on. Either Sol or Helios is the name well, it's not the real name, but it's a name that we can refer to our solar logos by. And by the way, I want you to, do take notes as we go along and see what it is that may be triggered in your mind and may be of interest. May be of interest to you. Okay, so a solar logos comes into, and it's a huge God. I mean, it's amazing. And of course, so many of the more childish religions have an idea of God that is terribly, terribly limited. I guess the worst is the old man with the white beard, and why it should just be a man instead of Father, Mother, God. It's very, very limited. But we're going to offer another point of view. And our point of view will be met with resistance, and the whole field of spiritual occultism will be met with resistance, and we have to, all right, take that as a condition. The solar system uses the body or form of this cosmic life and is itself triple. All those planets are chakras, major chakras, minor chakras, even minute chakras. I think Melvin Artley has a book that deals with this, 1,000 Points of Light, it is called. 1,000 Points of Light, 1,000 Points of Light, or, 1,000 Points of Light, or just 1,000 points of light. And he's dealing with the etheric system of a human being, but there's an analogy there, You go from our own etheric system right to the planetary etheric system, right to the etheric system of the other planets, taken all together, give you the etheric body of the solar logos. Now, we're not that, sure of what we might be able to say here. And it may be the case, I've sometimes thought it is, that there are 3 particular planets that are involved with each chakra of the solar logos. 3 particular planets. A triangle involved in the one. But let me just, without getting into that complexity, I'll just say that the Earth is the base of the spine center of our solar logos. Now, that's going to tell you a lot about the first ray, isn't it? The Kundalini, the kind of violence of things on this planet. Earth is the base of the spine center. And Mars and Mercury are there. And there's a lot of planets. Every planet as a chakra contributes to every other chakra, just as it is in our etheric body, but some of them are really central. Now, we're told that in the human being, Uranus is the sacral center, but there's every reason to believe that in a more ultimate sense, it's Mars that is the sacral center of our solar logos. And that sacral center is not yet tamed. And DK is very specific. He says when the sacral center of the planet is brought in under better control, and then he says it gives you a certain percentage of the sex crimes that will disappear. And of course, we know that Mars has everything to do with sexuality per se. Even more, more so than Venus. And that's something that if you are an astrologer, you really want to look out for that. And if I could, let's see, sex crime, crime. So maybe that'll tell us something. I don't know. Sex emotion. Crime, as now seen, is based largely on sex emotion, will be the thing of the past. And physical plane, license, orgy, and horror will be reduced by 75%. That's the one I was looking for, right? Yeah, that's the one I'm looking for. So just think, when the Solar Logos gets its own sacral center more under control, then these ill effects that work out in the life of humanity will be reduced. Okay, that's page 297 and 298 of Cosmic Fire. Obviously, one has to jump around a little bit. Now, Venus has a lot to do with the heart center, but at the moment, I think it has most to do with an upward turned solar plexus center within our solar system, more the solar plexus center. It seems that, well, look, you can take 3 planets, Jupiter, Neptune, and Venus, and relate them to the heart center of the great solar god. But I'll just choose Jupiter for the moment and say that expansive, inclusive attitude is characteristic of the heart center of a great being who has at this time 140 billion self-conscious Deva units compared to only 60 billion self-conscious human units. So we are living in a Devic solar system. Now, all of that may be a little bit beyond our ken, but during the next 2,000 years, we're going to learn a lot more about the Devas and our interplay with them. Okay. Now, when we go to the throat center, it's pretty obviously Saturn that is there. I can't say too much about the Alta Major Center. I'm not sure it's one of the major ones. The Ajna Center is Mercury. I think the heart in the head is Neptune, and the head center as a whole is Uranus. So Uranus, Neptune are very high up there on the level. Melvin Artley, I think wisely, has put Pluto as the Alta Major Center, and it has a lot to do, of course, with the base of the spine as well. So if you study any of those planets as chakras in the solar logos' etheric body, and you can go back and forth between the human etheric system and the solar systemic etheric system, and you can learn a lot, okay? And your view will become more and more comprehensive, and that's what we want at our particular stage of evolution. We want the comprehensive. Oh, here it is. Nicholas found it. It's an Initiation Human Solar, page 196. Yeah, that which has its home within the sun. So, thank you, Nicholas. Let's see. It's saying what the monad really is, because even though as a monad we may move beyond our particular solar system on the way of higher evolution, it starts out that we are registered as dwelling within the body of our solar logos. And let's see here. Gosh, I hope to find this thing here. And I know what I'm going to try to do. I'm feeling a little bit blind at the moment, so please forgive me. I'm just going to say The word is home. I think it's home. Oh gosh, there's 8 points, and that's not going to do it. And there it is. Oh, the word is finds. All right. Thus, the solar Lord, the inner reality, the Son of the Father, and the thinker on his own plane becomes the intermediary between that which is of the earthy, for that read personality, and that which finds its home within the Son. I don't know why I couldn't get it. Probably one little word mistaken, but that's going to be the monad. So basically, we're being told that the solar, our solar self, our soul, is the midway point, somehow between the monad and the deep earthiness of the personality, and maybe even the dense physical body. So this is an important paragraph. And by the way, if you're interested, I have written commentary on Initiation Human and Solar, page by page, line by line, on Makara. So, it's possible to study these things in a meticulous way. I usually opt for what I call meticulous entirety, or as some people have said, ridiculous entirety. Okay, what can I say? And that means we really do study the detail of things, because when we study the detail, the ray of specialized detail, second ray, we can really put it all together into an harmonious unity. And that's what we want. This is the ray of the divine pattern. And we have to see what those patterns really are. Now, Asha, did you have, I don't know, did you have something there again, or was it one of those things where you hit the, there you go. Did you have something?
I'm sorry, I'm using a phone for this. I'll switch to a laptop, but when I pick the phone up, I think I touch it by mistake. Sorry, so just ignore it.
Okay, it's no problem. Everything is
okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, that was thank you, Nicholas. That's I knew it was in the 190s there, but it just wasn't showing up. Okay. So now the solar system. The solar system is the body or form of this cosmic life and is itself triple. I mean, pretty much what you're going to have when you have a triple structure, they're going to correlate with the first, second, and third ray, such structures. And the head will correlate with the first ray, the torso with the second ray, and the limbs with the third ray, getting you around and movement and all that kind of thing. So, what do I say here? The higher vehicles, yeah, that's an interesting point. Sometimes when we're dealing with the idea of solar system, we are not considering the astral body, the mental body, the higher vehicles of the solar logos. The solar system is simply his etheric physical body. Now that's the way it sometimes turns out. But look, when you're looking at any structure, a human being or any being whatsoever, always look for the major three. And they are going to correlate with the first ray, the second ray, and the third ray. Now, average man, he's working on the third ray, more or less. Activity, busyness, going here, going there. The torso contains the solar plexus. The major chakras are there, and the top of it is the throat center. But in a way, the most important center there in the torso is the heart, because it connects you with the Buddhic plane. And then once you get into the head center, all the higher correspondences of the lower chakras are going to be found there. You know, like for every chakra that's in the torso, or all these in the hands and the feet, and all the minor centers and the minute centers and all that, they're all going to be found in the head. Sometimes you've seen a picture of the Buddha. He's got a bunch of curly little circles in his head or on his head. And that signifies that the higher aspect of the lower chakras is found contained within that occult center we call the head. Even, in a way, the heart within the head. So a lot of these old pieces of art are very revelatory. And he talks about the artist, in the coming Renaissance, and he says, look, the true artist is going to do a lot of meditating, and his purpose will be to reveal occult dynamics and not just some kind of impulse from the solar plexus or lower chakras. Okay, so the triple solar system can be described in terms of the three aspects, or as the Christian theology puts it, in terms of the three persons. Who are the three persons? The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And, we can put in the daughter there too, Father, Son, daughter, and the Holy Spirit, who is sometimes called the mother, but then there's a way in which the triangle hovers above a fourth point that we sometimes call the mother. So it just depends on how you approach. And Brahma, or should say Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma. And there are just many triplicities, as we have seen, that embody the first, second, and the third ray. Okay, so it's really worth studying these different parts. Okay, these persons of the Logoic Trinity are the three fires considered as entities. Three major fires. When you are studying a treatise on cosmic fire, you are studying electric fire, solar fire, and fire by friction. Now, the truth of the matter is, you're really studying solar fire most of all, because that's where we should be. Fire by friction is something that should have been outlived in the past. We still have to, in a positive way, condition it, manipulate it, work with it and all that. But in the previous solar system, that's when the emphasis was upon fire by friction. And it's usually this kind of energy that we call fire by friction, which is holding us back from entering into the realm of solar fire. Now, solar fire, is found here. And in a way, solar fire and electric fire are blending in the spiritual triad. And even here, in a way, solar fire is found, but electric fire is really taking over. And in the sea of fire, the main type of fire is the Shiva fire, which is the electric fire. At the end of the book, if we ever get that far, it's, about 1,100 pages into it, there's a little section on electric fire. In the beginning of the book, there's kind of a small section on fire by friction, not necessarily easy to understand, okay? I think what we'll find is that we can relate the best to the section of the book which is on solar fire, which we are trying now to cultivate as we reach upward towards the soul and build the Antakarana and unfold the causal body. That's what we're really trying to do. Look, it doesn't hurt to know what we're doing, Most human beings are just blundering on through, and not knowing the program of unfoldment. They don't know the constitution of man and what it does, and they don't know their next step ahead. At least let us be among the people that know the constitution of man and their next step ahead. All right, going back here now. So Christian theology, Brahma Vishnu Shiva, blah blah blah. We had all that, and we looked at all that when we were doing this life, quality, and appearance, Sat, Ananda, and Chit, spirit, soul, and body, will, love, and intelligence. These are all ways of saying Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Okay, all of these, and all of these represent the three aspects of divinity. Even this very interesting group of 49 spirits of darkness, 49 representatives of the seven rays, and 49 sons of Fohat. It's 777, but each is divided into 7, so you get the number 343, something like that. Yeah, something like that. I think it is the 343 subplanes on the cosmic physical plane, and then if you go to subplanes, suffice it to say, it all works out in terms of the mathematics of it. And I think it was Jesus or the Christ that was saying, look, the very hairs on your head are numbered. Everything is numbered. And if you put the numbers together, you're going to get the quality of things, which is interesting, because then you can say, in a way, really, that quantity is quality. Quantity is quality. And that's quite a mouthful, but it's interesting to think in those terms. All right, now going on a bit. So what do we have? Electric fire or fire of spirit. Now this really, until we have taken the third initiation, it's very hard for us to be talking about electric fire. And, really, the third initiation is kind of a climax of a solar fire range of development. But at that time, the monad, which is a blend of the first and second aspects, being on the second subplane of the cosmic physical plane, begins to be active. And we get that electric fire. I've talked to some people who've had some experiences with it, and it's nothing to disrespect. It's nothing to play with. It's nothing to force, because if we force it, we burn up the mechanism. And as Master DK says, have to spend a number of lives repairing our form. Oh yes, we can break through beyond the protective barriers, but basically you're slowing yourself down when you don't know what you're doing. So basically this work with electric fire and the monad and Atma, the will, and all that, it has to be under pretty strong supervision by a master. So, in DK's books, he really goes over this. Solar fire is our main thing for this solar system. Our solar logos in this solar system has a second ray personality, a second ray soul, which he retains, and probably a fourth ray monad, which has aspects of the second ray, which will be the final ray through which he will manifest in his last incarnation, or at least in his sixth incarnation. Right now we're in the second major incarnation, but the fifth of a number of solar logoic incarnations. That's a long time. We're talking, look, trillions of years. Well, I mean, sometimes a year seems like a long time to us, an Earth year. We're talking in terms of trillions of years. Because the way, a solar system disappears, and there's got to be some kind of interlude, which is basically lasting as long as the solar system did, then a new system, then another interlude, and so forth. The life expression of a solar deity is immense. And yet, as I say, because it is a definite number, it is an infinitesimal. Now, that's a really important concept, that nothing can be compared to the infinity of all infinities, absolute infinity, without becoming an infinitesimal. And not only an infinitesimal, but the absolute infinitesimal. But in a way, that has more to do with the other course. However, I can't help myself. I do have to mention it. So from this perspective, electric fire is but an aspect of the greater solar fire. Because in our solar system, solar fire is number one. Solar fire is the top. And the normal electric fire, solar fire, fire by friction are all aspects of the main fire of love. Main fire of love. Okay, Deborah, I see you there, and I'll get to you. Each fire has 3 subsidiary fires, so you've got 9. You start out with a solar system in which you've got fire by friction. It suggests touching, rubbing, heat through contact, and all that. And then subsidiaries, electric fire, solar fire, and fire by friction. Probably not too much. Electric fire and solar fire are developing as subsidiaries of the major fire by friction. But now here we are in our second major solar system. Fire by friction has run its course. We are in the middle, more or less, page 384 of cosmic fire. We're in the middle of our solar system, more or less. And the first part of it was to build the foundation through fire by friction, which is the fire which helps to create form all around us and through us. And then, of course, we have the fire which animates the forms with magnetism and love, and then the electric fire brings about the destruction of inhibiting forms. So anyway, people like ourselves are in the solar fire part of the greater solar fire system. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to learn how to live as souls. Average humanity, at least on our planet, can't talk about Venus, they're more advanced than we are, is still involved with fire by friction as the subsidiary of the greater fire of love and wisdom, the greater solar fire. Okay. And then as far as electric fire goes, there are fewer, many fewer. But people like the masters and so forth, they are involved with electric fire as a subsidiary, a derivative, a means of expression of solar fire. Okay, so we can trace these, and we've got 9. Now, we're going to discover that 9 is a really big number, and I wish I could find somewhere buried in my computer is this picture of 3 triangles and a central triangle. And every one of the 3 out here touches the point, So basically, we're going to have a fire by friction triangle over here. We're going to have a solar fire triangle over here, and we're going to have an electric fire triangle over here. I can't do better than that right now. I'd like to be able to. And I could go looking, but I don't want to waste time right now to do that. So in the next solar system, electric fire will be dominant. Now, let's see if I have here, let's see. And we have here in Shambhala, are they working with solar fire or electric fire or both? Actually, okay, all three, but it is the home of electric fire. And Shambhala is so pervasive and extensive, and, you know, the hierarchy is the ashram hierarchy is filled with solar fire, and it's the ashram of the Lord of the world in Shambhala, and at the same time, it's the first ray energy which is creating the form vessels which are strong enough to withstand the higher fires. So all three are at work, but it's primarily the home of electric fire. Although, like I say, because we're in a solar system which is dominantly love wisdom, everything is subsidiary to the great indigo ray. Now, maybe the next time around, system number 6, not indigo but red, will be the most important. But remember this, that our solar logos is not a first-ray logos. He may have a first-ray personality in the next great solar system, but he's still going to have a second-ray soul, and most probably a combination of the second and fourth ray monad with emphasis upon the second ray. So we're always under the second ray of the heart in this solar system. Let's just say there is a cosmic logos that is a local one, has 7 major stars, and our star and our system represent the heart center of that cosmic logos. Now, like I say, if you turn to page in Cosmic Fire 293, a cosmic logos has 7 major solar logoi as centers, and it's not yet the one about whom not may be said, although we don't know so much about it. On page 50 as well of the 50 of esoteric astrology, you're going to see some things about that particular cosmic logos, who is called, or about it is said, the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one. And it takes us all the way up to 4 cosmic planes, and very interesting here. Our solar god is so second ray that it operates as a heart center of this great cosmic logoic being. Now, it's obvious that according to the progress in our solar system, so will be the heart progress in the greater cosmic logos solar system that lies immediately beyond. So, you know, we little ones, we know how in a family, if we're having a bad time and are not integrated and all the rest, everybody suffers. And it just goes on all the same way, that the lesser can make the greater suffer, depending upon the degree of attainment of the lesser. I suppose it's also true if one of the higher beings, of which we are one compared to our cells and other little life forms within us, is not doing well, then all those lesser beings are going to suffer too. So we've got to do as well as we can in our particular solar system. Our solar god is either going to achieve the fourth cosmic initiation, which is crucifixion, or there's a chance it could achieve cosmic mastership for its particular type of being, the fifth initiation. Now that's going to make a difference in the cosmic logos of which it is a heart center. So let everyone do his or her job as well as can be done, because other beings are depending on you. Even the higher beings are depending on you. You know, when you are a higher being, you know what you have to do, you know what you should do, but there's a lot of old stuff that is still in the way, and you have to look away from your goal and back down again towards things that should have been solved. It slows you down. It slows you down. So let's remember we are extremely responsible to all beings, and especially the ones in our system, the one in whom we live and move and have our being, let it be a planetary logos or a solar logos, and the lesser lives within our own chakra system and within our own vehicles. If we don't do well, they don't do as well either. Responsibility everywhere. And DK says the sense of responsibility is the first indication that the soul is taking hold of the personality. Not that you just like what you're doing, you know, that doesn't mean anything. It's the sense of responsibility under Saturn. That is what makes things truly spiritual. So Saturn is the bridge, you know, and he's acted as that bridge. There's so much planetary lore, you know, so much stories about these great beings and what they did to help in the past, and we'll learn all that as we go along. Okay, a little more here. The solar fire comes from, it represents the soul. It's basically love wisdom. It is related to the second person, the Son aspect, S-O-N, S-U-N, of the three, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. It represents consciousness and sensitivity, and it is the equilibrizing energy. Sometimes you see in these drawings, you know, something that looks like a heart in balance. It's kind of a Libra picture, and Libra is not only a constellation with a third ray. Of course, look, if our little planet has all the rays, you can bet that these great constellations have all the rays as well. But the second ray is very important in Libra, and DK didn't make too much of it, but he calls it at one point divine love, Libra, and divine understanding. Now that's really, you know, connected with the second ray. So we have a kind of energy here we call equilibrized energy, and there's a kind of electricity called neutral or equilibrizing electricity that man doesn't know much about just yet. Oh, I hear, and I wrote about that. The fire of relationship in Libra, and this whole idea of the test of friendship. Tuya emphasizes that a lot when talking about the labors of Hercules. That friendship, that love, is really tested out in Libra. So it is the form-building ray, and it's also the ray of matter. And I wouldn't be surprised, finally, if Libra doesn't really have a 1, 2, 3 kind of setup. You might call it law, ray 1, sex, ray 2, and money, ray 3. It seems to be involved with all of those, and far from being just a neutral sign and the master of no man's land, as DK seems to call it. it is a very, very powerful sign, especially at this time of decision for humanity. We are making really big decisions right now, and the great lords who are taking the sixth initiation are taking it under Libra in a way and making a great decision which will propel humanity and the planet forward, oftentimes at the cost of a lot of pain and aggravation by the human race, but then these higher beings know what is best. So this is a sign of dynamic equilibrium. It's related to solar fire. Normally, when you think about solar fire and our local one about whom naught may be said, you think about Gemini, the head of the cosmic Christ. You think about Virgo giving us all that meticulous entirety, and you think about Pisces, which is the great sign of identification and inclusiveness eventually. So, you know, every constellation has every ray, of course, but certain of them are emphasized more so. So that's one of those things that you're going to have to memorize. You're going to have to memorize what rays come through what constellations, and there's always three. So you have it at the tip of your tongue, you know, and so that you can also know what planets are involved in distributing the various rays. Now, I think every great being has his ray structure. When Master DK talked about Master Kutumi a little bit, I don't know whether he did it. I think he did, actually mentioning the name of the great Lord. He talked about Pisces and Gemini. These are Master Kutumi's signs. He's on the path of the world savior. Probably, I would guess that Pisces is the rising sign and Gemini the sun sign. When he hinted that he was giving us the chart of the Buddha, and I think he did hint at that, he gave us Taurus and Pisces. And there again, I think Pisces may be the rising sign. Master Moria calls the Buddha the lion. So obviously Leo is a pretty important sign in there as well. But then, you know, we know that, or we hear that tradition tells us the Buddha was born at the full moon of Taurus. He achieved his 6th degree enlightenment at the full moon of Taurus, and he died voluntarily, you know, eating the poisoned food at the full moon in Taurus. So Taurus outlined everything, but he was certainly somehow on the path of the world saviors. And Master Moria was kind of given a Aries-Leo chart, and the Christ. I imagine when I think about the Christ, his connection with Pisces is obvious, you know, Hercules, Scorpio, the Buddha, Taurus, the Christ, Pisces. But he's also the Prince of Peace. And if that does not relate him to the spirit of peace and does not relate him to Libra, then I don't know what would. I mean, in other words, I figure his second sign is going to be Libra. And he's also we're told that the Christ has the perfectly balanced endocrine system. Now, that's just a little bit of stuff, maybe from esoteric healing or so, you know. But think about the great Lord, everything in proportion and beauty, in perfect balance. Again, that is Libra. So it's very interesting, you know, maybe in the new astrology, one of the things he's going to be doing in a few years, he's going to be writing again. We don't know how. You know, I imagine maybe he'll need an amanuensis because you just can't work with a computer and be happy. So he will one of the things he mentions at first, I'm going to give you new information on astrology. That's the very first mention of the subject matter that he's going to present around the year 2025. So we have all of this to look forward to. Okay, and I have some other things here, but I think you may be having this, and you can also find it on Makara, and I haven't changed things too much, so you can read this carefully if you want. Okay, now the next type of matter comes from the Father, Son, Holy Ghost, the third aspect of divinity, the Holy Spirit, which is involved with the earlier initiations particularly. It has to do with the form, with active intelligence, and in this case, in the electrical setup, it's the negative energy. Let's just say that electric fire is the very positive energy, fire by friction is the negative energy, and the neutral energy, or the energy at the center, is that of the sun, the equilibrized energy. And we all know, at least from some foundations of electricity, that the arc or relationship between the very positive energy and between the negative energy gives us that light. It gives us light. It's almost as if the positivity is in darkness, the negativity is in darkness, but their contact of father and mother, light, matter, springs forth. Light and matter are in some way identical. Okay, so negative here, I like to think of the word receptive. And so this fire deals with the things that pass away, the forms and all that, with the externalities and the interplay of forms. And so the internal interplay of that which resides within the form is the province of solar fire, but the outer part of the form is definitely fire by friction. So those are the three fires. Those are the three fires. We've read a lot about them. We know they are represented in our nature. We know that we have to move from preoccupation with fire by friction into a preoccupation with solar fire. We know that. We know we have to begin to live the life of the soul. And once we are fairly well along that line, then the life of electric fire and of the spirit can begin to be meaningful to us. Now, we know these things. We've studied a lot of Master DK, let's say, and he emphasizes this all the time. The thing is, do we do it? Do we do it, really? Are we making the progress? If we're stuck in our personality, are we moving into the soul? If the soul-infused personality is already along the way, can we possibly begin to feel the presence of the spirit? That's a question. Okay. So now, I realize that I'm not moving fast here. I realize that. But as I have said, I do not want, there's a lot in this commentary. And, in a way, even more in Cosmic Fire. I've just given my own attempt to do some interpretation. And I want to be very careful that I keep this whole matter digestible. Because there's such a thing, Master DK wisely calls it a revolt from study. A revolt from study. And, and then he uses this kind of humorous thing that maybe every scholar has felt somewhere along the line. Can these dry bones live? So, we could just get overwhelmed by words and concepts and all the rest. And basically, what we have to do is work it into ourselves. Right down here in this low emanative space that we occupy, a very little world that we occupy here, we have to work in these higher concepts. So what I'm going to do, even if we're just kind of moving a page at a time, or not even a page, I'm going to just put this down and give us a chance to think about a few things together, answer some questions, and or at least try to answer some questions. I'm not ever saying that it's possible to answer questions. All you can do is attempt. You can attempt to do it. So I'm going to put this down and get rid of the following. Okay, okay. Just give me a moment here as I struggle with, okay. And I don't want to take up number spaces. I figure, all right, so this was number 8 and group webinar 4. Now, probably the next one will be number 9 and probably group webinar number 5, unless I get very antsy about it and decide I'd like to do some solo stuff to help us understand a little bit more. But there we are for next Friday night, I guess it is, and it will be the 8th of November. Okay. Now, as I say, as we get closer to the new group of world servers week and the celebration of the festivals and is very important and happens only once every 7 years, and there's a pretty strong new moon happening in the middle of the whole thing, so we may not be able to uphold our schedule the way we have, especially during the festival week of the new group of world servers. But at the same time, we can resume in January and plow on. We're going to get into the number 9. It's so interesting. The number 9 is the number of the third ray. You'd think that maybe the number 3 would be the number of the third ray, and in a way it is. But cycles of 9, 90, 900, 9,000 are cycles of the third ray and probably of the 3 aspects of the third ray. And what's really interesting, if I'm correct here, that in 1875, the Theosophical Society was founded at the exact halfway point of the 900-year cycle of the third ray, which began in 1425. I think that's interesting. And remember, how much of a new intellectual approach to the ageless wisdom was offered by Blavatsky. I've often thought that, she has a lot of the first ray in her soul, but I would think a lot of the third ray in her monad, or maybe first ray and third ray. I cannot be sure. Anyway, she certainly covered the ground in terms of the third ray, and the Tibetan in 1875 was made a master. And I'm quite convinced that he, like the Buddha, has one of his monadic rays as the third ray. certainly in the expanse that he's covered and the way he's done it and his flexibility and he's just from Mercury, you might say, and the monadic ray of Mercury finally, I think, is the third ray. All right, friends. So although we're not moving with great speed, I promised you cosmic fire in depth. Okay. Now, whether you're getting cosmic fire in depth, I don't know. I hope so. Let's see, this is page 4, and we're still on page 4. All right. I'll just have to swallow any pretense here of moving ahead rapidly. It's just the way it is. Like I said, we'll all be together one way or another in the year 2050, and we'll be finished with this book. Meanwhile, I'll just do my best to forge on ahead. So it's your turn to ask any questions, say what you want to say, and, whatever. So, okay, so here we are. Oh, my goodness. So that was Chris that I just hit. But untied to fire by friction, heat produces solar fire or light. So if we focus on spirit, we can contact the soul, S-O-L, S-O-L, S-O-U-L. Yes, so the light breaks forth in the middle. Now, in our particular planet, we are looking for a very strong light demonstration. Not only must humanity, which presently represents the throat center of the planet, demonstrate as light, but our whole planetary logos will put in a expression as a station, a great station of light. So, fire by friction, it's holding us back. But the interesting thing is, if there's an intense enough infusion of electric and solar fire into fire by friction is going to shine too. Vulcan will help you do that, and the light quality of fire by friction will be made manifest. And, although matter is pretty much considered to be the dark light, we do see that light demonstration around the form of the great holy ones and the light potential of the otherwise dark matter will be brought forth. Okay, so now I'm just going to see what I see here, okay, and then give you my impression about it, and if you have impressions about it, you can speak on this as well. 241, Cosmic Fire. I just want to go there, just for a second. Treatise and Cosmic Fire, 241. Yeah, I mean, we're going to, get a hold of the CD-ROM if you can, because it makes such a big difference, Ununited to fire by, yeah, here it is, not untied. I don't know what I was thinking about here. United to fire by friction, heat produces solar fire or light. Yeah, that's it. And that's what we have to do. And that's our integration. So, and it's all spelled out in the idea of intelligence, love, and will. Now, right now, people like ourselves are blending love, as much as we can reach it, with intelligence and what's going on in the world of matter. And that's our first step, and that's what's called soul infusion. But, okay, there's another step. And that other step will happen later when we've taken the third initiation. and we will be able to have this power of the Spirit really get the most out of the love aspect and the intelligence aspect. We don't want to be premature about it, but we want to know about it as we are learning more and more about love. All right, now going on. So Deborah has something here. When Master Moria talks about the fiery world in Agni Yoga, is he talking about about solar fire, electric fire? I think, Deborah, that he's talking about the blend of the two, and basically that he's talking about the spiritual triad, which is midway between the dense physical body of the planetary logos and the etheric body of the planetary logos. So let's just see, Atma is certainly a fiery world. Buddhi is a fiery world. Manas, interestingly enough, well, they say, Moses, who represented Manas in a way, he didn't get to the promised land. Now, there's a big allegory there, and it's not just that he didn't get into the land of Canaan and maybe was spared a lot of the karma that came from those attacks under a very strong expression of the first ray, which the Hebrew tribes responded to. But it's like mind itself cannot enter the promised land. What is the promised land? It's where we really feel and know and have intimate contact with these energies rather than just talk about them. We can talk till we're blue. We can talk. Okay, talking is good, helps to, set up the structure of things, but the experience, look, if you're hungry, you don't want to eat the menu, right? You want to use the menu as a guide, and then takes you to the restaurant and you eat the food, right? So it's the same way with the mind. It's the menu of the true contact to come. And for me, this is the fiery world, especially Atma Buddhi. Now, whether he's talking about anybody being able to go into the monadic level, certainly as a high Chohan, he can do that. But I don't think his students can do that. So I look at the fiery world as the world beyond the Antakarana and the spiritual triad. That's my impression about it at the moment. I always try to say at my present level of ignorance, I believe this, because it's certainly possible to change your mind as you learn more. So you hold everything as kind of a loose hypothesis, and you say, okay, this is the way I see it at the moment, but that could change. So, the Bible people, the Quran people, the Bible, they get themselves into a straitjacket because this is the final word of God. That's it. God doesn't have anything more to say. He wrote it all down in the Bible, every word of which is straight from God's lips or his prophet or whatever, and obviously you are really painting yourself into a corner when you do that. Okay, what does it mean to see things as they are? Well, Raz, you're asking that question, and if you have a lot of veils, well, what did St. Paul say? I'll paraphrase it. For the moment, we see as if through a glass darkly, but one day we shall see a God face to face. So there's all these veils, and the veils happen to be the condition of our perceptual mechanism, which is not as keen as it might be. And so we get a lot of distortions in what we perceive. And then people wake up and, at a certain point in their life and say, oh, so that's what you meant, the Zen students are struggling and they're making themselves sick and they're using their mind to try to do what the mind cannot do, and then along comes the Vulcanian master, hits them a good one on the head, and maybe they wake up, that this is immediate experience, what Master Moria calls straight knowledge, or pure reason. And it means that don't trust your senses. They are good up to a point, but the reality of what lies beyond what the senses can report is the big reality. Okay? Now, I always, in the other class, I'm saying, all right, let's learn how to infusive. I use that instead of perceive sometimes. So let's sense this formless, pervading something which is like being itself. Let's sense being. Let's get into being. Let's be being. Let's be being, okay? And when we start to be being, what do we see? Not what we saw before when we were just working with the mind, and not even when we're loving, this is loving that. This is good, of course, but to be the other. Well, I sometimes say, just to wake people up or to whatever, I say, look, I'm as much you as I am me. Of course, I'm using an artificial distinction there. I'm saying that this is me, this is I. Well, it's not really, but it's an emanation. But if I say I am as much you as I am I, what in the world am I doing with my consciousness to allow me to say that? And that's what I mean by things as they are. It's almost like you're seeing more with the heart than with the eyes. Alice Bailey was a great admirer of Agni Yoga, and she was a friend for a time with Helena Roerich, who was taking down the Agni Yoga, and they both had offices in a similar place and all that. And in the Arcane School, Alice Bailey interjected some study of Agni Yoga. Now, the first study was the doctrine of the I, EYE, and it has to do with duality, and this is separate from that, and how to put those things together. But the next one was the doctrine of the heart, and that's a more advanced study. And I would suggest that all of us, whatever the heart is, and we have a number of hearts in our system, between the shoulder blades, top of the head, we have the causal body, it's a heart, we have the monad, it's a heart, and so forth. We learn how to see with the heart, because automatically the oneness about which we talk all the time is going to appear. It's how things are when the oneness appears, and not just how they might seem to be when the veils of the senses and the veils of the distortions of the astral body and the veils of the mind and all that are interfering with this heart apprehension. So I'll just say that. Okay, yes, okay, electric fire, solar fire, etc., etc. I've answered these other ones. Now what am I missing? What am I missing? Anything? Okay, so we got Chris's. And look, this is a big study. It's a big study. Here's a couple more coming up. So here's Rose. What degree do you think our planetary logos is? First degree cosmic initiate? Or what degree do you think our planetary logos is? Aware of its place and purpose in the greater scheme? Not entirely. Just as we human beings have such limited awareness of our place is the planetary and solar life, so it is with the... Yes, I believe so. Absolutely. You know, there are some beings to whom even our solar logos says decay is as a crystal. That's how tiny the solar logoi are compared to the still greater beings. So think about an initiate of the first degree. That's our planetary logos, the first cosmic degree. He looks forward to taking his second initiation in a solar system in which the solar god has only more or less recently taken his second, still greater initiation along the solar logoic line. So, you know, our solar god looks forward to being like Sirius, who has taken, if everything adds up, and I think it does, who has taken the third cosmic initiation. And as I said before, it's pretty well predicted that our solar god will not only take the third cosmic initiation, but definitely the fourth in the 150 trillion years remaining to to his manifestation, and maybe the fifth cosmic initiation. As far as Sirius goes, it has certainly taken the third cosmic initiation, and maybe as the cosmic Christ is involved in some kind of crucifixion or mastership, and I don't know. Nicholas and I had some good discussions, I think, once about the Maya Virupa. You know, a Maya Virupa kind of comes and goes. It depends on when you project it. It can appear, it can disappear. And there are Maya Virupic, there are very high initiate logoi that can project stars as Maya Virupas. So their cycles might not be the normal type of cycle at all, but there's much more coming and going, appearing and disappear. So you say, blah, 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 let's see what we got here. And yet within this limited awareness, all seems to proceed with order. Well, I think it does proceed with order. It's only in the question of the Maya Virupa or a truly master solar logos, a Chohanic solar logos, a seventh degree Chohanic solar logos, that the order might be violated. But we don't know enough yet about even what the normal order is in order to say that there's some kind of deviation from that order. So in general, I would look towards order, and it's going to take a long time for our solar logos to reach the third degree, I think, cosmic degree. And our planetary logos has to go through 7 subsidiary initiations before it fulfills its possibilities. I'll show you the reference, basically, and I don't think it's open to really easy interpretation. But 384 here of cosmic fire. Let's see, what do we say here? It might be said of the planetary logos of our scheme that he is in physical incarnation. Yes. He is midway in his career upon the cosmic path of initiation. Now, already Venus, the logos of Venus, has taken some kind of fifth initiation. Maybe not the fifth cosmic, but something very high. But our logos is midway and should be equal to Venus, is not. So our logos planetary is midway, is to take the fourth initiation in this chain. Now, what's interesting about that is that's the Earth chain. And there is a subsidiary fourth initiation from which, or let's just say our planetary logos is closer to that than it is to any kind of fourth cosmic initiation. So what we've got to basically do is look at the subsidiary initiations, of which there are 7 for the planetary logoi, and the cosmic initiations, which may go on, the 7th, 8th, 9th degree, but our planetary logos will not take those in this system. So let's just take a little bit more. Well may this globe therefore be considered. Now we're in our chain, and it's a subsidiary initiation we're talking about now, before the second cosmic initiation is taken by our planetary logos. Well may this globe therefore be considered the globe of sorrow and of pain, for through it our planetary logos is undergoing what the mystics call the crucifixion. At least he is undergoing a kind of crucifixion, and I'll try to explain why I say that. The cells in his body, those cells through which he feels and senses and experiences, are in this world period rent, torn by pain and suffering. For his is the consciousness of the body, and theirs, meaning ours, is the capacity to suffer, so that by means of them he may learn the meaning of systemic dispassion, because apparently we still have a passionate planetary logos who is suffering from some personality defects, and his lack of dispassion is one of them. When he takes the second cosmic initiation, he will improve much in the realm of dispassion, just the way every human being does. So he may learn the meaning of systemic dispassion, be dissociated from all forms and material substance, and upon the cross of matter eventually find liberation and the freedom of the spirit. Now he just, in one sentence, he just throws it all in. The same equally can be predicated of a solar logos. Notice he says a solar logos, and but I think he means ours, with the following interesting sequence carefully borne in mind. The solar logos has for objective 9 initiations, the third cosmic initiation being his goal. So there's a subsidiary range of 9, and the cosmic initiations, he would take maybe the 4th, and if all goes really well, he'll take the 5th cosmic initiation. Now, what's going on our particular planet is, I think, this solar logos is taking a kind of a 4th subsidiary initiation through our planetary scheme. Not just through our chain, the way the planetary logos is focused. Our planetary logos is working in our 4th chain, but through the whole 4th scheme. That's where the solar logos is focused now, and it's a time of suffering on Earth, in the Earth scheme, and I suppose for the solar logos also a time of a kind of crucifixion. Now this is really interesting. Our planetary logos has for objective 7 initiations. The second cosmic initiation being his goal. He's not yet dispassionate. He does not yet have cosmic spiritual intelligence or the cosmically illumined mind. Not yet. But he is undergoing a 4th subsidiary initiation. And maybe, this is speculation on my part, when he undergoes the 5th subsidiary in this series of 7, he will also take the second cosmic initiation, And maybe that will be the time of the Judgment Day. The 2 and the 5, quite a few million years ahead. Yes, I think so. Maybe that will be the time of the Judgment Day. Now, will this be taken? I don't want this to get too complex, okay? Will this be taken in our chain, or will the solar logos move on to the 5th chain or Mercury chain to do some of these things? It looks to me like even if we stayed in our chain, it's a lot of millions of years. Man has for objective 5 initiations, the first cosmic initiation being his goal. What is that first cosmic initiation? And, just to save time, I'll give you what I think it is, okay? The first cosmic initiation for man is the 5th initiation of mastership. The first systemic initiation for man is the 3rd initiation. And the previous ones are just planetary initiations of the threshold. So even though this is just a little reference, it's chock full of amazing possibilities which liken the progress of our planetary logos, who is way behind our solar logos, of course, to that same solar logos. And we understand that there are different kinds of initiations that are running. For the planetary logos, there's the chain initiations, and for the solar logos, there are the scheme initiations, and they are subsidiary to the main cosmic initiation. Now, we do know, or are told, that maybe our solar logos takes the 5th cosmic initiation. If it does, it puts tremendous pressure upon our planetary logos also to take the 4th or the 5th cosmic initiation. So our planetary logos, who is the base of the spine center, can really help with that. Otherwise, the solar logos could not move on if the base of the spine center is not ready. And now you see why I say there's a lot to memorize. There's a lot of little particulars to memorize so we can know the relationship between them. And you might say, well, that seems like a lot, but I'll tell you, I'd speak from bitter experience here, if you're facing the periodic table and a dense textbook on organic chemistry, this doesn't seem so much. There's less here, and the interactions are fewer, and this can be done. Okay, now let's see if I'm missing anybody. No, not here. And Deborah Bartle, and just making one more kind of check here. And Nicholas gave us that page. Nicholas has a lot of speculations which really open up the possibilities of the astrological key to the secret doctrine. And I'm sure that there are some webinars and things like that he's either conducting now or will be conducting, if I'm wrong, Nicholas, you just tell me. But here we are, all spread out in different countries, and we are all working together here, and we're learning DK's books as much as we can, and we are plunged into the ageless wisdom, and we are responsible for things that go on in the outer world, a lot of bad things going on, but with our occult techniques and our meditative learning, we are responsible for helping to make things better, using the creative imagination and the focusing in certain chakras and keeping the idea of harmlessness in front of us, which doesn't mean we're nice to evil. It doesn't mean that at all. But to really spread the blessing. I think Tuya taught me this, that blessing can be as much drastic as it can be apparently benevolent. Because basically what you're doing is opening up a line from your inner principles or the inner principles of another individual straight through to their personality, and that's liable to cause a really big, productive, painful disturbance. The DK has told us that Confucius is going to appear in China. And I mentioned it, he's a member of the hierarchy now. Confucius will appear in China, and he's going to cause a disturbance. This disturbance is not just a light thing. This is a whole regeneration of the attitude of hundreds of millions of people. So the great energies from above, let's call them Uranian energies, can really shake things up. And people say, oh, what's happening to us? Look, we're falling apart. When in fact, space is being provided for a new archetype. Or let's say, get rid of all that conditioning that didn't work, and the new archetype has a better chance of appearing and expressing. Is there anybody else that has any final statements, questions, or whatever, either on the staff side or among us who are over here on the left side? I just want to say one thing. Just keep studying, keep meditating, because you will inevitably learn the ageless wisdom. And I always remind myself what man has done, man can do. And what the Christ said, greater things shall ye do than I do now. It's inevitable. And if you stick to it, keep your nose to the grindstone and your shoulder to the wheel. People have joked, how can you do that? It's a little difficult, isn't it? You will succeed. But the persistence angle is the big thing. You got to persist, and it's said in the first ray stanzas with those fantastic words of power, I still persist. Not only I will persist, it has both. The world is destroyed, and I still persist. So we've got 5.5 years now, probably, before DK, around the year 2025, starts to give out the new teaching, in which astrology might be, one of the first offerings. And if I were you and if I were me, which I sometimes am, I would do everything I can to assimilate and express what has been given, which is within my range to assimilate and express. Obviously, a lot has been given that, it's a hypothesis, it's something that it's nice to know and you hold it in your mind somewhere. But there's other things that you can actually do that will advance you and your group and ultimately humanity as a whole. Okay, I'm grateful for those of you who have survived and also grateful to, just being present here and working. And here just with Suzanne saying here, so each way we uplift, manifest the good, the true, the beautiful, no matter how small the offering, that's it. We aid our logos in his growth. That's well said, Suzanne. And the little thing, just the little, tiny little helpful thing makes a difference. He also said, Moria said, the smallest grain of sand can stop the largest wheel. And Master DK said, thank you. And Master DK said that the small thing, the next small thing, and some of you are finding it a hard thing to deal with, even though it's small, is what's holding you back from initiation. This small little thing that needs to be corrected is holding you back from initiation. So I sometimes wonder, what that might be, and if I go looking, I can certainly find some things. But the big thing is fear. Don't be afraid. We all have fear, and it's built into the substance of our vehicles. But the fearless attitude of the initiate who identifies with the immortal God within is what's needed to make the progress. And when you realize, you could stand up and your body could fall to the ground quite dead, and there you are, still, and every other vehicle could fall down and fall apart, and there you are, still, and thus it could go with the causal body, and there you are, still, and onward even to the monadic vehicle, and there you are, still remaining. You just begin to get a different perspective on your true immortal nature. And if we could get that kind of perspective, we wouldn't drown in self-pity, and we wouldn't cower in fear, and we'd go straight ahead and make it through the tests and the trials and the burning grounds, and be in a position to help others do the same. Okay? We've got 2 minutes until it's 2 hours. And the last thing that I want to do, obviously, is the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Sorry. Okay, friends, thank you for being here. The whole team sends you lots of love and many blessings. And tomorrow, Tuya and I have the evening schedule on the Soul of Nations. I'm not sure whether it will be Tuya or myself. We'll just see how it works out. And then on Sunday, attracting money for hierarchical purposes. So, all the best. I'll get this converted as soon as possible. And Joe and BL and Joe will get this up on Makara, where you can access it if you wish, and where you can direct other people if they want to study these matters. So, all the best to you, and thanks for being here with us. Bye for now.